Hello. Hi, Duke. Hello, everyone. Myself, Tara, and this is my channel where I'm an intuitive healer, and that's why I love to talk about spirituality and spiritual practices. And that's why I've invited my lovely friend Duke to talk about his journey through spirituality. And this podcast is going to be where East meets West and how everyone across the globe is now coming together on this path of inner healing. Welcome, Duke. How are you doing? Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
Most welcome. So, yeah, we would like to first start with your background and then maybe would like to know how your spiritual journey started, from where it started and how it's helping you in becoming you.
Okay, so I guess my story. I mean, I've kind of shared a little bit with you. We've discussed how early child. I had dealt with some early childhood abandonment issues due to the fact of uh, my mother had me at a very young age. She was 15. I was put into, for lack of a better word, an orphanage. I was a ward of the state for a temporary time.
Hmm.
And I think when I came out of there, I had even like as a toddler, had like food protective issues and things like that. And I was not aware of these things until later on in life.
Wow.
But
How old were you at
from
that
there,
time?
I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. So, how old were you at that time?
That was about a year and a half, 2 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's where, due to the separation from my mother, and there was that. What I've come to realize over time is that really truly led to a fear of abandonment, that I was not worthy of love because if my own mother at
Ah.
that point didn't want me, that how could anybody want me? Do you know what I mean? Like it's a very
Hmm.
it's not the right train of thought. It's a very self-based train of thought. You can't see outside of your own trauma, right?
Right.
So
And then as a
a lot
toddler
of that came
only,
through.
wow, wow. So as a toddler only, you were able to sense that your mother doesn't really want you, and that has so much impact on
Yeah,
your brain for.
yeah, and that's something that I've come to realize over time. Do you know what I mean? That
Hmm.
I didn't understand these things. Like I didn't understand as a kid why
Hmm.
I always had this guard up and was, I pushed people away before they could push me away and things like that. But so af- after this experience with that, my mom ended up marrying my stepdad. He came into the picture. He was a very uh, disciplinarian based kind of parent, and like very I guess what today is referred to as toxically masculine, that
Hmm.
boys don't cry and this is what a man is supposed to be and things like that, and
Yeah.
basically what he taught me through those things was to suppress my emotions and whatnot, right?
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely. Yeah.
and then that my feelings didn't matter. This is as how he made me feel growing up, and like my thoughts, my opinions, my feelings, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so that led into, I guess, adulthood, dealing with authoritarian figures, of just assuming people were always better than me and not seeing my own true value and my own worth. um,
Yeah.
so like those are some of the things that happened. I mean, I had I believe that with all of these things that were going on, when I was about 7 years old, I started having what they thought was epileptic seizures. I think now that there was maybe something else going on there,
Hmm. Yeah.
because the doctors never could figure out like a neurological reason for the seizures.
Right. Yeah.
But I believe that these things, uh, they were more mystical in nature. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I would say. Like, we have this high terms given to the emotional health issues. So the emotional health actually
Mhm.
result into these different physical and mental health issues. So that's what I always, try to tell in um, my presentations as well.
Yeah, and I think it has something to do with my nervous system was so overloaded and I was in constant fight or flight even as a child
As a
that I
child.
think it
Wow. Yeah.
completely just overcharged my body to the point that it caused me to have these and I would see like geometrical shapes, entities, things that you may commonly hear about in people who have experimented with dimethyltryptamine or LSD or psilocybin mushrooms.
Hmm.
Those kind of visions. That's what I was having as a child.
Wow. Okay. Must be very hard on you because you were not able to understand what exactly is happening with you at that age. None of us could, and then we never got this opportunity to even talk about this stuff with anyone.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, you try to talk to people about this, and when you've, for lack of a better word, seen through the matrix,
Hmm.
it's hard to explain things to people that reality is a whole lot weirder than we think.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then how how has this impacted your studies or other aspects of your life, like how that was going on?
Okay, so to continue on a little with my story, I did 4 years in the Navy, served during Operation Enduring Freedom, during operations in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Hmm.
Um, did my time in the Navy, realized that I had some moral objections to why we were over there, and I fulfilled my service, completed the contract, and then I was out. I've completed my contract, and about a year later, I joined the Coast Guard, where I became a search and rescue coordinator. And I don't want to go too deeply into that, but basically, I did 12 years in the Coast Guard, and when I retired, I was medically retired due to uh, severe depressive disorder, PTSD. I had a lot of deaths. There were a lot of deaths I dealt with when I
Right.
was active duty Coast Guard as a search and rescue controller.
Hmm.
So once I was medically retired and I got out of the military, I realized I didn't know who I was anymore because my entire identity had become wrapped up in my job. And
Hmm.
um,
Yeah,
you know,
that is.
yeah, sorry, I got a little off track there.
Nice.
Um, so after I retired, I started having a lot of insecurities, self doubts, severe depression. I got into some legal trouble because I got into a fist fight that really went bad. And I woke up one morning and I had broken up with my girlfriend at the time. And I woke up this morning and I looked around and I realized like there's nobody around me. I pushed away everybody in my life. My parents weren't talking to me. My brother wasn't talking to me. all of my personal friendships had fallen apart, and I was living in a house in the middle of nowhere without a car and no way to get around, and I was stuck by myself, right? And what
Mm-hmm.
as hard as that time was, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I had to look around and go, there's no one else to blame but
Wow.
me.
My,
I
yeah,
created this
so strong
myself,
realization.
you know, and it was during this time I was still going through that severe depressive thing, and I'd had multiple suicide attempts.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. Um, and
It's okay. Take your
I'd
time.
forgotten that there was good in the world, you know.
Mm.
But I'm sorry if you can get me back on track.
No, it's okay. It's okay to let it go. But I can completely understand what you have been through, and you've been through a lot. And
And the reason I share this, I'm not looking for sympathy or empathy. Or I share this because I know what it's like to be in that pit. I know what it's like to be in that hole and to feel like nothing is ever going to get better again. And if me having this conversation with you can help one other person realize, man, you can get through this and things aren't as bad as they seem. Um,
yeah,
that's why I wanted to do this with you.
absolutely. Yeah. That's incredible. And the way you have come out of all that and you have stood for your own self. That's a big,
Yeah.
big thing. And you need applause for that.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Like I said, it's and then on a deeper level, um, you start to realize that so much of what's going on in your exterior world is more what's is actually going on your inner world, your mind. What
Hmm.
everything is, everything around us that is happening is truly neutral, right? It's only the mind that gives it a positive or negative connotation. It's like a rainy day, right? A rainy day can either be you can either see it as good or bad. It just depends on your perspective. Are you wanting to go outside and play with your kids, or are you a farmer needing rain for your crops? It's all perspective.
Yeah, definitely. That's so true. But when we go through that dark pit, at that time, we don't really realize that that pit is actually, it's going to
Yeah,
end and it's going to is actually taking us towards the light. And
yeah. That the adage of if you want to see heaven, you have to go through hell is very, very true.
so true.
If you want to experience the highs, it's like you have to experience the lows too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then on the deepest of levels, when you realize
Mm.
it's all just a game, man.
Yeah,
You know, it's life is just it's about how you approach it in your heart. It's yeah,
yeah. That's the huge, huge realization which comes.
yeah. It's
And
like and it's like spiritually, right? Like all of the different spiritual practices, belief systems out there, if you really boil it down, they're all saying the same thing. And that's to love each other as you love yourself. And, like for example, we were talking about the mixing of Eastern and Western philosophies, right? Like in the Western concept of God is more so like this divine hierarchical being that is a fatherly type figure, right? And I think in the more Eastern approach is God is more of like energy, right? Like uh,
Right.
it's a force, right?
Course, right.
Like Shiva is the energy and life force. Now I'm not 100% up on my gods and goddesses yet, but like I get the basic ideas of things, and that's that there's only really one thing going on right now. There's one event, one consciousness, and we're all just individual sparks of the flame, if you will.
Yeah.
Um,
And
like the way we treat each other as the way we think of each other, the way we treat each other. It's what comes back to you because that's how you're treating yourself.
absolutely.
Um, we talk about things like empathy and compassion and like what is love really, right? Like love is understanding that you have your way of seeing the world based on your life experiences and I have the view of mine, and we're not always going to see eye to eye, but we can respect each other enough to go, oh well, you see things this way because this is the way you experienced your life and I haven't experienced
Yeah.
your life.
Exactly. And what I feel is just to get this understanding what love is, we experience all that. I mean, we have to go through all that just to come to this understanding. And until we do not go through, that dark pit and do not come out of it, we can never understand love. And love is,
Yeah,
not just for other person but for ourselves also. Unconditionally we have to love ourselves, and then only we can love anyone else, because it's more about understanding and not really doing anything for the other person, but more about understanding them and having that
yeah,
compassion for every being who is born here.
yeah. And it's you know also giving yourself those things, giving yourself grace for making mistakes. For I truly believe that the vast majority of us are doing the best that we can with at the a level of awareness that we have. If somebody doesn't understand like the law of attraction or the law of one or any of those concepts, it really just boils down to treat people how you want to be treated. Do you want, I could talk about like political things that are going on, especially in the United States right now between Republicans, Democrats, left and right. And it's like, dude, you've got to give each other a little bit of grace and realize nobody's perfect and
Mm,
none of us are going to make the right decisions all the time. And that all
absolutely.
we can do is try to do the best we can for the man next to us and whatnot.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what I see with my clients. I'm seeing is I am mostly like I'm working with women, and what
Hmm.
women usually forget is to give that love to themselves. So they want to, take care of everyone else except their own self. So it's like the love and
Yeah,
compassion goes both ways. So you have to be able to give to yourself and others.
yeah. And you've got to be able to love yourself.
Hmm.
Like, I've heard the people say I would kill for my kids, and I'm like, okay, but will you live for them? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
like
And we don't need to
and
kill
not
anybody. Yeah.
huh?
I mean, we all can survive, like all of us can survive on this planet Earth without any competition, without any
Yeah,
without any need to fight for the things we need.
exactly. And I think there's um like with I'm trying to think of the biblical verse. Uh, uh, when it talks in the Bible about trusting in God, you can say trust in the universe, trust and believe that everything is going to be okay. Trust in yourself. Like
Right.
so much of what our problem is in this world today, and maybe I should just speak for myself, is has been a lack of trust and faith in myself. And you know, um, I had more of that, things would probably be a little bit different. And things are getting there. I'm learning to have more faith and trust in myself. And it's like the world around me is beginning to become brighter and more beautiful. And, um, I have this mirror work exercise I do where I say, every day is better than the last. And I say that to myself in the mirror most days.
Yes,
And
amazing.
you know wake up in the morning, tell yourself today's going to be an amazing day, because that's, you're training your mind to look for positive things.
Absolutely. And Duke, I think we are getting closer to the time. So anything
Okay.
you want to add to wrap up our conversation?
Not
Yeah,
right now. I mean, I'm very happy that you, and very grateful that you asked me to be on with you today.
absolutely, my pleasure. I enjoyed it, and thank you for
Okay.
sharing all your like deepest part of your life.
Yeah,
And
and we could always do this again anytime you want.
yeah, I'd love to do this again. And thank you so much for coming and giving your time. And
Thank you.
yeah, thanks all for listening to us and see ya. Bye.
Bye.